Hello, hope everyone is doing well. So the Premier League season is literally a few days away and Leeds United are playing Wolves. So this video is just going to be me giving a simple Premier League prediction. Where will we finish? Reasons why we'll finish in those positions. I'm going to give my player of the year, young player of the year, most consistent, breakthrough prospect, and shock. So a player that I think we've given up on that will perform. Oh, I'm also going to give top goal scorer, top assists. Let's get into it. Yeah, so I pre-did this. I pre-thought about these because I didn't want to ramble on. So I've got them all here, and now we're just going to talk about who I think it is. So yeah, player of the season first. What I've gone with is Luis Sinistera. So why? Right. So a big theme of this video is injuries. I genuinely believe if we can keep him fit 30 plus games this season, he will be our best player throughout those games consistently. I think he's the most talented individual in our team. Now Rafinha's gone. I also think he will get goals and assists. That's the player he is. That's what he will do. So if he can adapt to the system, which I think he will, I think he might take a little bit of time, but if he can adapt to the system and stay fit in terms of injuries, I think we've got a player that could do brilliant things this season. Seriously, every other I've seen a lot of people talking about him and from other clubs, and they like him. For me, the best player is a difficult one because you could look at consistency. You could look at you know a player that's scores the most goals. But for me, it's not about that. For me, it's about the player that plays the best every game. You know, and that's why I'm not going to put defenders in there because we'll concede a few goals potentially in certain areas. I don't want to put defenders in there. And although you might have people like Erasmus who can be extremely consistent, they're not going to stand out as this flair player, right? And I think in terms of excitement and potential, I'm going to I beg he stays fit, but I'm going to go with Luis Sinistera. The thing is about this signing is this could be the best or the worst. This could really flop. This player could come to the Premier League and just not perform. That could happen. That genuinely could happen. But as a Leeds player, I'm going to back him, and I think he can if he stays fit. So Luis Sinistera, player of the season, young player of the season. So for this one, I took away Brendan Aronson. He's quite young, but he was close to my player of the season, by the way, Brendan Aronson. So was Matt Rocker. But I think Aronson is going to be spurts. I think he's going to be a little inconsistent just because it's the type of position he plays. He will be marked out of games, etc. Bamford was worrying me with his injuries, all that stuff. So yeah, that's that anyway. But young player. So what I went with was Joe Gelhardt. I think it's. So I'm liking Somerville. He got the number 10 shirt. Will he keep it? I don't know. That depends on if we bring in a new signing, right? But he's got it and he wanted it. So what you'd say is self-confident. Can he back it up? If he backs it up and he's number 10, well then that's fair to say he's going to have a good season. But I like his attitude. I like his thinking. And he clearly wants to play first team football and he believes he will. That's why he wants to stay and not go on loan. Sam Greenwood is consistent when he plays as well. I've been really impressed with him. It's just about ceilings for me. And I think what we saw from Joffrey last year is a talent which we've not seen in years at that age for this club. And things he can do if he plays more. Wow, he could get. I tell you, he could get up to 10 goals next season. I'm telling you, if he plays a bit, he could get 10 goals in the Premier League. So I think, yeah, young player is going to be Joffrey. There's a few in there. There's a few in there. I'm thinking of Garby as well, maybe, and Perkins, who could have a breakout season. That's another topic. But yeah, young player, I'm going to go with Joffe. Most consistent. So this is a person who doesn't necessarily get the plaudits he deserves, doesn't necessarily give a 10 out of 10 performance, but he's always up there. He's always doing his job right, churning away. And it's between three players for me. Rasmus, Adams, and Rocker. And quickly I got rid of Rasmus just because the defence, he plays high up and it's not his fault, but we will concede goals from the ball in behind against good teams, we will. And that's not his fault, that's a system thing. So I don't think I can put him in there in consistency if we're conceding goals, right? But I still think he's going to be an absolute unit. It's between these two, and there's nothing. But what I went with Tyler Adams. I love Mark Rocker. He's probably my favourite player at the moment, I'll be honest. But I think Tyler Adams is a Taylor bred. Taylor bred, is that the right? I don't know. He's born to play Jesse Marsh style football, right? Quick transitions, tight spaces, winning the ball back, driving with the ball, passing it. That's his job. Interrupting the play. He does that perfectly. That is what he'll do all the season. He will do that. That is his job, and he will do it, right? Mark Rocker is not a Jesse Marsh player. Although he fits the system very well, he's still not Marsh's son. You know? He's not been at every club he's been at. And I think there'll be a few games where Rocker has a little quieter game. He'll do his job, but he won't stand out. He won't be as consistent. He might get marked out a little bit. Having said that, I still believe he's still my favourite player. I love him to bits. He's going to be amazing this season and a pivotal part. But in terms of consistency, for those reasons, I'm going to go with Tyler Adams. Breakthrough prospect. For me, breakthrough is, I'm not going Joffy. Joffy was last season. That was his breakthrough. It's also Elan. I think Elan's breakthrough was 2 seasons ago. Elan, I considered Elan for player of the year as well, but again, if we concede a few goals, that's going to be difficult to do, isn't it? But we might be solid, let's just see. Yeah, breakthrough. And I went with, this is going to shock a lot of you. Seriously, this is going to shock a lot of you. Sonny Perkins. He's been at Leeds for 2 weeks. And Jesse Marsh has already included him in the first team training. He's come out and said he really likes him. He's really impressed, which obviously your manager will say, but he's not said that necessarily about the other players that he's brought in. Garvey, he's not said, oh, he's been amazing. He's praised him, but he's part of the first team squad already. Obviously, I think he'll play a lot for the 23s, but I think he could have a similar impact to what Joffy had last year. And the reason Joffy's not in this because his breakthrough was last year. A breakthrough isn't getting 20 goals. A breakthrough is coming on and introducing himself to the Premier League and doing things and make people go, oh, he's decent. That's breakthrough. Joffy had that last year. This year, Joffy could excel. But Sonny Perkins could have that similar this year. I like him. I really do. He's really highly rated in this country as well. So prospect, and you're thinking Somerville, it could be him, or Greenwood. You could argue Greenwood's last year was breakout. You know what? I don't know if it's boring. I'm gonna go for it. Sonny Perkins. Watch it. He might not play a single Premier League game, whatever. But I don't want to be boring. Everyone could say Greenwood or Somerville. You know what I mean? I'm different. Why not? So I'm gonna go for it. Sonny Perkins. I like him. Sonny Perkins. Prospect. Breakthrough. Boom. Surprise package. I'll be honest, this was made for one person and one person only. I made this section for Junior Firpo. All I've seen pre-season, not everyone, a lot of Leeds fans calling him all sorts, rubbish, terrible footballer, can't play, get him out, get him gone, he's not good enough. The last one is arguable. He didn't play well last season. But the others are all rubbish, in my opinion. And this is why, right? I base the way my mind works in terms of football and performance analysis and all that stuff. I base my thinking of a player on their best performance, their best season. His best season was at Betis when he tore it apart. He did really well. I remember back then people talking about this guy. I remember it. Talk about Spain, Colin, talk about all that. That is what he can do. That is what a player can do. They can do that. Last season was rubbish. We don't know what was going on in his life. He had injury issues. He had maybe some health issues with COVID. Settling into a different country. People forget about that. That is huge. That is so huge. I like the interview he did after Blackpool. Because to me, I've never seen that from him. I've never seen an interview with him. Or if I have, he's not smiled. In that interview, he looked very happy to me. He did. He looked happy. He felt different. He's going to get beat. He's not the best defensive defender. But I still think if we can get a tune out of him, If you can stay fit, that is the vital part. If you can stay relatively injury free, if you can play 25 plus games, he's going to shock a lot of people. And that's why he's getting this from me, because I genuinely believe there's a top player in there based on his best performances at base. And he had some decent performances last season. There was 2 or 3 games where he played really well. That's what I base my players on. I don't base them on the bad ones. And I still think he can come through. And I was tempted to say Rodrigo, but he's a little older and more acclimatized now. And this is a big year for him. He's got to prove himself, my opinion. Just relax. We still need a left back, of course, because of his injury worries. I'm honestly not worried about performances. It could bite me in the backside. But this little injury here is bad for him, right? This is not good. But if he can get through this and stay relatively injury free, he will shock people. I'm not saying he's going to have the best season in the world. It's shocking people, right? Going, oh, he was actually decent. That's what I want, and I think he can do it. And I back him to do that. Judy Firpo. Right, last 2, quickly. Right, let's go. Top goal scorer. Ooh, this is difficult. So this is again down to injuries, right? Injuries. Top goal scorer. So what I went with, and this was probably the hardest one, I'll be honest. I went with Luis Sinisterra. I'm second guessing myself. No, I've just got to go for it. Luis Sinisterra, because I put him as the player of the year, right? If he stays fit. If he stays fit. He might not. But if he stays fit, give him a few weeks. Rafinha took a few games to get into the Premier League. He did. I remember. He did a few things, but before he blew up, that goal against Everton, he did a little bit, but not too much. So give this guy a little time. But I think, looking at watching him last year, because I watched the Conference League and what's his highlights. He knows where the net is. He's a finisher. He's different to Rafinha. He's a finisher. If you can get him close to that goal, he'll score goals. What worries me about Bamford is injuries. Like, this injury's a weird one, isn't it? It's not a pulled hamstring, it's a foot injury, and it's a pain thing, and he can't run. So that could come back any minute. He seems a little broken. His pre-season was very good against Calgary. I was very impressed. But the reason I saw Sinisterra over Bamford is simply consistency of performance. I think Bamford, I hope he doesn't. I hope I'm wrong, but I feel like he's going to get injured a lot again. I hope I'm wrong. Because when he plays in the Premier League full season, he got 17 goals, and he could replicate that. Let me just caveat this. He could get more than Sinisterra easily. If Bamford plays the same amount of games as Sinisterra, I think Bamford scores more goals. But I don't know if he will. So I've gone with Luis Sinisterra for this. Jack Harrison's up there as well. I've gone Luis Sinisterra. Top assists. Right. I went with Brendan Aronson. Because the role I've seen him playing, if he can break them lines easily, he's the furthest man forward apart from a striker. That pass against Calgary, that's his assist. He takes free kicks from close ranges, crosses. That could get him a few assists. We're good at set pieces now, apparently. So I think, this is difficult because you've got Sinisterra again and you've got Harrison, but I think they're going to be more goal scorers than assists. Harrison will take him close. But I'm going to go Brendan Aronson for top assist. I like what I've seen from him. I think he's going to be in a lot of positions where he can get assists. You know what I mean? I think he's going to be less selfish. I think he wants assists more than goals. The others want goals, right? I think he wants assists more. So I've gone for that for them. On to the next bit. I don't want to leave this too long, but now I'm going to get into where I think we'll finish. This is the hardest part for me. All the others was difficult. This is very difficult because there's so many aspects. Like, you think about, right? We have a consistent performance. We have a consistent team. Little injuries, not really many, problems. On paper or on what I've seen or what we can be, the potential, I genuinely think we could get a top 10 finish. I'm not saying 6th, 7th. I'm thinking, scraping top 10, maybe to 8th, up that position, similar to what we did first year. with consistent performances and consistent injury problems or lack of that. I think we could do that genuinely. But the problem for me is we will get injuries. Some of the players will be inconsistent. Brendan Aaronson's going to be a little bit inconsistent, which is normal. He's a young lad, his first season in the Premier League. He's going to shine, I believe. Like I said, he's a problem. But, you know, there's going to be a few games he's going to be quiet. Jackie's a bit inconsistent. I'd like to see him be less inconsistent. Bamford, will he get injured? Rodrigo, injuries, inconsistency again. We know Rodrigo can play football, obviously. But doesn't do it enough for Leeds United. But when he's good, he is good. But how good can he be consistently? Consistency is huge. Clarity and consistency. So this is really difficult. You know, right. I want to just have a little... This might go on. I don't care. I like this. This is good. This is football. This is Leeds, isn't it? For me, I'm seeing a lot of people thinking of the system. We're not wide enough. We don't play wide enough. You know, there's a problem here. We don't create enough. What I'm going to say is this. One, I went to the Calgary game and I was right behind the goals. And the width, the fact we have no width, that old saying, that is a myth. I promise you, that is a myth. I've never seen two fullbacks so wide in my life. The width doesn't come from the wingers. The width comes from the fullbacks. That is still width. You know, our playing areas are not out wide, but a lot of the attacks start from out wide, come in. That is width. Width isn't a winger playing high and running in and creating stuff outside, crossing it in. The width is a position on a pitch. The width, they use most of the pitch. The fullbacks use the lines of the pitch. That is there. They run up there. They rarely come inside between the box and the line. They are in that corridor constantly. Even if it's on the other side, the other one is in that corridor. That is width. Why we get exposed at the back over the top of the fullback is because we have width. So I'm not hearing this, we don't have width. We do have width. What happens is when we attack, we come in, we join inwards to create in front of goal situations. Because if you're playing in that tight space and you have players who can play in that tight space, you're going to create loads of chances. It's about getting the players clear in their minds how to do that correctly. The width then comes from the fullbacks who are not marked. Everyone saw it. Rasmus Christensen, how many times was he open? Every second of the game. I don't care who the opponent is. I'm talking about us. In that game, he was open. We didn't get it to him as much. But it's there. The option is there. And once we get that into our heads, that that's the option, we can do that. Then we're causing problems for opponents. We will concede goals from it. I don't care if we score more. I don't care. If we can establish that attacking mindset that Jesse Marsch wants, that clarity, we can win a lot of football matches. Believe me, he's done it. At previous clubs, he's done that. And I think this is something I believe in more than most things. There's two ways to succeed in football. As a coach, there's two things you need to rely on. One is system. Right. Let me just tell you something right now. In my opinion, there is no best system. There is no best way to play football. There isn't. There is none. No best way to play football. No system is better than another system. Right? It isn't. The best, the winners, the people, the clubs, the managers, the teams that win things are the teams where the manager can get his philosophy and his system into the players the most. That is what wins games, right? For example, you have 11 world-class players. You have this idea that you want to pass the ball endlessly, tiki-taka, Barcelona style, right? You want to pass it endlessly, dominate possession, right? good. That could work. But what if the players are not up to that? The players can't do that. The players can't pass the ball like you want. They can't move like you want. You're going to lose the ball a lot, and the system isn't going to work. It's not going to be successful. You could want to play that football, but if you don't have the players to play that football, if you can't implement your system onto those players, they're not going to play it. You're going to be bad. You're going to lose a lot. Like, people compare who's the better coach, Guardiola or Mourinho. They play completely different systems, completely. But one thing they have in common is they are incredibly good at getting their players to play their system. Now, what you need for that is players that can play your system. Pep's system is diverse, it's hard, it's difficult. That's why he needs the best players in the world to do it. Mourinho's system is different, it's combative, it's structure. He needs warriors with heart to do his system. But they are both extremely good at getting the best out of the players they have to do their system. That's why they win things. The reason Guardiola called Bielsa the best coach in the world isn't because he won the most things. That's not what a coach is. The best coach is the coach that can get the most out of the players to fit their system. Bielsa did that. He got a team that finished 13th in the championship to play his way like that in a matter of a month, didn't he? And my point, and now I'm thinking, but that's my point. There is no right way to play. We don't have to have width. If we don't have to have width in terms of wingers. We don't need that. We don't. Jesse Marsh's system is not that. His system is narrow in terms of the attacking players. The fullbacks are the width. If he can get his players playing up here, aligned and in tune with his system, we will win football games. Sorry, I went up. That was my inner football brain coming out, my inner football head coming out. That's my point. There's not one way to play football. And what we've got to think about is, can he do that? And he's doing it already. The first thing is system. And that was a really long point. But the first part was system. Getting the players to play your system. Most consistent. That's part one. Part two is luck. Luck in football is huge. The things we can't as humans control. The things that happen. Human errors. The body. The mind. Luck. Right. Pep Guardiola has all these players, right? What happens one season? He has a training session or a few weeks and he's got 8-9 players out. He's in trouble. We saw that last season. What happens? You're not going to win as many games. It's still Man City and they have strength in depth, but that's not my point. My point is they're not going to be as good as they were with these players that he brought in. You know, the top players he plays every week. If they're all injured, what are you going to do? You're in trouble. Look, right? You might play this passing, right? You might have 30 shots on target, score none. Then they come and have one counter attack and score and win 1-0. Your system has worked, but it's human error. Goal scoring is difficult. You can't necessarily teach footballers to score goals. That is instincts, that is human errors, whether they score or not. That is down to the person. Creating that chance, yeah. But finishing the ball in the back of the net is down to luck. The player's ability. That day, the player might not feel well. Inconsistency. Human error. So that's the second thing. Luck is so important. The difference between you finishing first in a Premier League and sixth could be down to luck. It could be. A decision doesn't go your way, that could cost you 3 points. Those 3 points at the end of the season could win your league or lose your league. You might get 3 or 4 times in a season where you're maybe 1-0 up and you win a penalty, right? Or you get a goal offside that isn't. You win a penalty, it's not given, it's clear penalty. Didn't get it. It's 2-0 if you score that penalty, you've won the game. Different game, right? Luck. Everything is down to luck. The system and luck are the 2 big things. If we have clarity in our play, we can finish top 10. If we can keep injuries low and the players understand the system. They keep growing to understand the system more and more, we will do well. If they don't, we will fail. This is down to them and the coach to work together. This is where the staff come into it, the people he's brought in, and the players he's brought in. But what I will say is this: if we have a few injuries like last year, we could be in big trouble again. That's the difference. Genuinely, the difference could be injuries and consistency. If we lose 5 or 6 players every game, like last year on average, we're in big trouble. If we can keep the core of our squad and the young players step up, because that's important. The young players have to step up. Somerville, Gelhardt, Greenwood, they have to step up now. This is their time. In my opinion, this is it. This is the season where they're tested. If that can happen, we could finish top 10. But if that doesn't happen, and the players don't attune with the system, we could be in big trouble. We could finish 17th, 18th. We could. We will not finish 17th, 18th because we lost Rafinha and Phillips. That's a load of BS. I'm not buying that at all. Because that is not that. That's a different team. We lost them. We didn't lose them in this team. We lost them in another team. This is a different team. This is a different system. Completely new. So I don't know. It's a difficult one. So this is what I mean at the start, where I'm going to leave it, you guys, where will we finish and why? And give me all your things on, top goal scorer, everything I went through. Put that in the comments. I'm curious. I'm really curious. But if we can stay consistent, lack of injuries, and the players understand the system, we can finish 11th or higher, in my opinion. If that stuff happens. Right. That's my on the fence reaction done. I've rambled 31 minutes, jeez. But yeah, I hope you all enjoyed it. Please like and subscribe. I'd appreciate it. The comments are amazing. You guys are incredible. Keep it up. I love it. So I take a bit of time to reply because I don't usually go on YouTube every day. I've got uni stuff trying to figure out and all that fun stuff. But yeah, I will reply when I see it, when I get to it, I promise. So thank you so much. You're all legends. Let's get into the season. LEEDS.